John, Kerry against Louth this weekend. Are you expecting just to roll into Portlaoise and win handy?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the few teams I've seen that has learned a lot with the step up this year is Louth. I think was their first game was against Cork, and there was only a 2-point difference in it. Now I'm just showing that I think something around 119 to 117, something like that. But they have learned an awful lot, as have Cork, and we'll talk about them later. But Louth have against Dublin got a non-merciful beating, and while they showed maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, Shane, either side of half time, I think that they can score, and they put up 15 points, which is commendable enough, but they were really open at the back, and I think Mickey Harte has closed that down. As for Kerry opening them up completely, I don't think so. I don't think Kerry are playing well enough at the moment anyway, but that's a horse of a different colour. Against Mayo, then Louth, look, Mayo did keep them at arms. The scoreline doesn't actually justify the way Mayo could have got. They got a few goal chances, missed a few easy scores. It was a 5-point game going into injury time. Louth, though, have learned another thing. They've stayed at it. They've stayed at it, and they got just commendable goal and a point straight away. And on the kick out, who knows what would have happened. As for Kerry hurting them, yes, I think Kerry are going to win it. But I suppose there's a lot of dissatisfaction with Kerry down here, because I suppose a few weeks ago it was. More than a few weeks ago, we were waiting for Gavin White to come back, Paul Murphy to come back, Paul Ganey to come back, and everything will be sorted. It wasn't, and it isn't. And Kerry are not firing, and I think they'll be using this game to sort of re-establish number one, a bit of confidence. Number two, a lot more players coming into the play, rather than we having the usual David Clifford, Paddy Clifford, and to be fair, Shawnee Shea in the first half in the previous game. But look, Louth have learned an awful lot, I think, and they've come up through the ranks over the last 3 years up to Division 2, is it? 4 to 3 to 2. And I think they're growing in confidence. They've lost a few players, but I mean, there's some excellent players in obviously with Kieran Downey, Samuel Roy, and Conan McKeever there. They have great forwards, and they're kicking over points and getting good scores now as well. So I think Kerry are looking for a confidence booster. They'll be made work hard for it, but I think they'll win it, Shane.
You know, when people say that, David Moran retired, it took something out of the midfield for Kerry, is that sort of lazy analysis to just put it to one man only? Because surely, you have a panel of 40 players or whatever it is. Yeah, he takes something out of your team because of his leadership and so on, but surely a team should be able to adjust to one player not being there.
Yeah, well, you're putting your finger on a sore point out here now at the moment, Shane. It's a good strategy by an interviewer. Yeah, look, we're disappointed the way the midfield is working out, but previous to that, it was more than just David Moran. Of course, David Moran is a huge loss, and he was a great figurehead and a wonderful guy to catch a ball inside in the square or at midfield. But we had Diarmuid O'Connor on the wing as an out ball, and his partner at midfield, Jack Barry. But it's the replacement and the strategy that's what's causing the problem with Kerry at the moment. And at the moment, they're playing Dara Moynihan in one wing, and they brought in Spillane in the other wing the last day. But, it's not working. It's not gelling yet. No, I would have been an advocate for Adrian Spillane to come in, because I think he shows a lot more physicality, a lot more aggression. He's a good tackler, maybe over robust at times, but that's what we need. We're not a fine-tuned team. But it's just that, look, Diarmuid O'Connor and Jack Barry are not controlling it anywhere near it, and they got roasted against Mayo. They really got taken to town by Paul Conroy and Matthew Rowan, So we'd be worried about it. Going about that area. But against the Lout, I think there's one thing they've got to be careful about, is that this is a very, very it's an extremely fit Lout team, and if for instance Kerry don't hit the ground running, I think they'll find a bit of difficulty in this Lout team in O'Moore Park. Number one, I suppose the supporters down here are waiting for them to fire, and you know, when you're waiting and waiting and waiting, it can often be you know, when is it going to happen, and somebody's taking the initiative. Now the only one that seems to be taking the initiative is David Clifford, Paddy Clifford, and to a lesser extent, I have to say, Paul Gainey came into it, and he's surprising us with his fitness levels, and Shawnee Shea in the first half, as I said, the last day. But I'm just worried about our defence. I mean, Mayo just opened us up completely. Now, having said that, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, because there's 3 games to be played, and Kerry are supposedly up against the weakest team of the 4.
You're definitely not filling me with confidence for Kerry to win All Ireland this year, the way we're going at the moment.
And we're not. There's a lot of criticism towards the new word down here is not simulating what you call it, what they do in the north, but it is that we're aping what other northern teams have been doing, and they're sort of Jim McGuinness and Ciarán McGeaney and defensive styles we've adopted, and they're blaming poor old Paddy Tally for all this, like, you know. But
she was the hero last year.
Sorry?
He was the hero last year.
Sure, this is it. This is what I'm saying. Like, you know, the poor man, he can win, but it's just that our defence has been quite open and was open so easily. I think the other side of it, just on the same vein as well, is that the Kerry defence, it certainly needs to be more cohesive. Again, this is where David Moran is missing as well, because tactically David Moran was dropping back into that middle of that square, and for anything that was coming in of a high launch ball. And look, let's face it, only for Shane Ryan against Mayo, we'd have been annihilated, absolutely annihilated. Sorry, go ahead.
Who would have thought that when Jack O'Connor and Mickey Harte came up against each other in the 2005 All-Ireland final, that 2023 they'd be up against each other again? It's very funny.
It is actually, and Mickey is a shrewd guy, like, you know, and he's you have to hand it to him, lads. Look, Louth were wallowing down in Division 4, and now he has them in the senior championship. Mother of God, and jumping, you know, division after division after division. But the other side of it with Kerry is that I think the support level for Kerry's style, continuing with this aping scenario, we're missing one thing. And when I travel the country, up and down the country, Shane, the one thing that people are saying, when are Kerry going to start playing the Kerry brand of football? What are they doing? Copying other teams in a defensive structure that's too defensive. And the only one that's covering over all this is David Clifford. And make no mistake about it, he is the shining light. He is the player of the year. He's no doubt about it, a class operation. And we're just disappointed that the rest of the team is not. I'm not saying that we should be bravado and swaving up the field and flying up and leaving the back open, but I think just we've gone a bit too defensive, you know.